welcome back to another episode of Two Sisters of a Certain Age, Conversations with a Therapist and a Doctor. I'm your co-host, Judy Grant, licensed marriage and family therapist.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Sophia Grant, board-certified pediatrician and board-certified charities pediatrician.
All right, so Candy, what's happening?
Well, I chipped my tooth. I don't know if you can see it. You see it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
what's going on? How did you chip it?
I'm like turning 60 and everything's wearing down and falling off. But I chipped the tooth. Oh, because the end of the tooth is narrower. And I chipped it maybe 2-3 years ago. And then my dentist filled it in. And so she's filled it in twice. And I'm going to have to get it fixed. I don't know if I can get it filled in again.
Right.
But I want a permanent solution to this because I can't be talking to people with a chipped tooth in the front. It's so, and I don't want to keep on going back. And I know lots of times with dental work, they have to shave perfectly good stuff down to fix it. And I don't want it, but I need a more permanent solution because this is getting on my nerves and it looks bad. So, anyway. I wish our former guest, Dr. Monica Bruce, was on so we could talk about that. But yeah,
right. There are so many things that's like going on in your body at once. Things that you need to address.
Yeah.
Just went to the doctor on Thursday. I have another appointment coming up in February.
Yeah.
So many things that we need to stay on top of. Otherwise, our bodies run away with themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you can't let them run away. But you know what? Perfect segue into the topic of this show. This time, Judy and I are going to be talking. And, it's a topic people really don't want to talk about. But because of the way we were raised, it's not a big deal for us. So we're going to be talking about death. And, the reason we wanted to talk, well, first of all, the first time I remember Mommy talking about when she dies, she was 36 years old.
Right.
So when me dead, me want you do this. When me dead. And so Judy and I grew up with death being a normal part of, and it wasn't creepy or anything. And Daddy, he joined in. Remember, Daddy used to say, when me dead, me just you people going to be crying, and I'm just going to be a fly on the wall watching you.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this joke. So after Daddy died, and we saw the first fly, I remember, Daddy, is this you?
Oh no, we're all in the breakfast nook.
Yeah.
And there was this fly, and we're like, wait a second, Daddy. He said he'd come back.
Right.
And we're here crying.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
no, but you're right. We've been we were never shielded from the concept of death. We grew up attending funerals, whether in Jamaica or here in the United States. But it's something that has always been a part of the conversation. And I think it's like at first like, Candy, what are we talking about? Death. I'm like, oh. But the reality is, it is the reality. And especially now that we are of a certain age, unfortunately, we are losing peers. And of course, we are losing parents.
Yeah.
Our father passed away when, many, many years ago when he was far too young. But now we're contending with our aging matriarch and having to think about like really those plans. She isn't 36 anymore.
Right.
So we really have to think about that.
Yeah. And then our mother's best friend, Aunt Barbara, she died and her funeral was in December. She was 90. And what's interesting is that I was talking to Aunt Barbara's daughter, and Cheryl said, I thought we had more time. And that no matter how, 90 is a really nice long life.
Right.
86 is a nice long life, but you always want more time. And our last guest talked about moving to Colorado from California to be with her father, and she got to spend 8 years with him, and how precious that time was. So, yeah, where do we start? Let me see. My first funeral, I was in Jamaica. I don't know if I was like 6. I think I was 6. And I remember seeing the body of the guy who died. His last name was Plunkett. And he was embalmed, I think, but the body was outside. And I remember walking up to the body, and I think it was embalming liquid was coming out of his nose. And it wasn't terrifying or frightening. That, I think, was the first time I saw a dead person. And I've never been scared of death. In medical school, went to autopsies. In fellowship, I actually chose to work with a medical examiner, and I performed myself a few autopsies and watched countless more. But this isn't like a macabre discussion, but how do you prepare to die? I mean, because of how we were raised, I think we have discussed what we want done. Like when I die, everybody knows I want to be cremated and my ashes sprinkled at the beach in Jamaica. But if you can't get to Jamaica, you can go to Zuma. I don't care. And making preparations for the inevitable. I think we hear a lot about celebrities who don't have a will, and then their estate is just in a state of confusion. I don't want anyone having to deal with the grief of losing me and then having my things go into probate and having things be confused. Years ago, I had a trust made, and my co-host Judy Grant is the executor of my trust. Should I predecease her? I kind of want to die before you because I don't want the grief of having to deal with.
I'm gonna go with the other. I can't think of
Yeah.
my life without my sister.
Yeah. So everything is laid out. And, the thing about getting your affairs in order, we've heard that term, is when your affairs are in order, nobody's wondering. Oh, first of all, if you're in the hospital and you're on life support, nobody's wondering if they should take you off life support, i.e., pull the plug, because it's in your advanced medical directive. I've told it to many people what I want. Nobody's going to be second guessing themselves. And I think it takes the burden off of your survivors of making these
Right.
tough decisions. Everybody knows that, pull the plug, pull the plug. I am not 22. I'm an organ donor, but I think I'm so old nobody would want my organs anyway. But so what do I have? I have an advanced medical directive. I've talked about what I want done. I have a trust. So my 401k, the beneficiary is the trust, and the house is in the trust. And when things are in the trust, it avoids probate. Probate is the legal way that, I don't know, the state, the county takes over your possessions and then they distribute them. You lose a lot of money that way. But with my house in the trust, I drop down dead, sell my house, the money goes into the trust, and it's set up so that, I did this many years ago the kids would get money to support their education. Now they're all college educated, but then the money comes to them in increments at 30, 35, 40, etc. So it's not like they get a lump sum of money to lose and be frivolous with. but I have my affairs in order. Mommy has her affairs in order. And then anything that's not in the trust, there's a will that you can say, okay, this is what, who gets this, who gets the car, who gets this, who. So my affairs are in order, so it will not be in a state of confusion. Excuse me, and there's nobody arguing it. Judy, what are your thoughts?
I'm in a different situation. I don't have a house to put in a
Mm-hmm.
trust, but I do feel like I've got my documents prepared and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, not funny, but whenever I travel without my children, like when I traveled earlier this month, it's to all of them, okay, where are my important documents?
Mm-hmm.
You know how to access them. Every bank account, every whatever account, retirement, all of it is there for you to access and connect with the appropriate people, so they know where that those documents are. And I feel that while I don't have, like you said, all of those things to put into a trust, like mine is a little bit more straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
But my kids know where to go to get all of that information should something happen to me. Um, I don't want them to have to pull that information out, but they know where it is. And they know that I have taken care of them,
Mm-hmm.
so that's in place. And it makes me feel better when I'm on that airplane and I'm saying my prayers, knowing that something happens to me, they're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's financially, but again, they don't have to deal with like, now what do we do?
Right.
It's spelled out for them. And one of the things, and I haven't done this yet, maybe this is something I need to consider, is Mommy tells me that she got a, a burial insurance policy. So, because she does not want us to have to come out of pocket all of a sudden for all of those burial expenses. So she has that in place. Now we know, it's not going to cover everything because we're going to take mommy home to Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a little something that we don't won't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
about. So in addition to your will, in addition to your trust, you might want to think about being able to access your family, being able to access immediate funds for the burial, because that is
It's expensive.
expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Who has $20,000? And I don't understand how you can even price these things out like that.
Mm-hmm.
But who has all of that cash on hand to say, here you go?
Right.
So that's another thing for people to consider. I haven't done it yet, but now I'm thinking about it.
Right. And one of my shames would be to die and my kids have to have a GoFundMe account to bury me. If I were in that position and I'm dying, I would hold on till they get the money because I don't want to have that be put out there. But I'm not a believer in uh, funerals with cemetery where you put somebody in the ground.
No,
I think,
no,
you
that's not
know,
happening.
for me, I like the concept of cremation and, sprinkle me at the beach. So if you go to the beach, maybe you'll think of me. And that could be any beach that my loved one goes to. They would think, oh, mommy loved the beach. But I'm not a big fan of having a plot and coming to visit. And
No.
although the other day did go visit Aunt Barbara, and even though
Mm,
I am not a fan of that, I saw people sitting. I saw a woman with a lawn chair just sitting, by herself. And I don't
mm-hmm.
know if that was her child or her spouse or a parent. And then about, I don't know, a few yards down from me was a family, parents with two kids. visiting a grave. And it seemed like, the kids were playing. And I can see it being a source of comfort for people.
Mm-hmm.
Jamaicans, we like to put our loved ones in the ground. And, in our ancestral homes, like I know where my great grandmother is and my grandmother and my relatives are. And that it's kind of grounding to know where you come from. But like that's not who I am.
Yeah. And Candy, you're right. I'm not about being buried.
Mm-hmm.
Not about it at all. And you and I are so
There's mommy.
crazy similar. Is
Mm-hmm.
that Mummy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows we're talking about her.
And I thought I put this thing on do not disturb. Okay, but go
Well,
on. What were you saying?
no. So we are so similar in our desires
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves after, because I've told my children that I'm to be cremated, but unlike you, I do want to be sprinkled at Puerto Seco.
Mm.
Um, but I also told them that there is no timeline on it. If it happens, because I want the three of them together. Um, and I laugh because Maxine will just take me to Venice Beach.
Dirty Venice, a dead body. Well, it would fit right in.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. I mean, my God, I do love Venice,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want it for them to be an experience where they are together in Discovery Bay at Puerto Seca Beach, and they have memories from their childhood
Mm-hmm.
at that beach. They know what that beach means to me, and that's where I will be sprinkled. They know the beach is my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't need it to be a big to do. If
Mm-hmm.
it's the three of them, fantastic.
But you want a
Um,
funeral, right?
yeah, I will have some sort of service, um, for sure, for
Mm-hmm.
absolutely certain. Yes, but the actual sprinkling,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't need to be a big deal.
Have you picked out
You
music
know,
for your funeral yet?
um, I have.
Oh,
It's
okay. What's
ridiculous.
on your list? It's on your
Hold
phone.
on, hold on. Um, hold on. Artists.
Is
Let
it
me see,
under
which one
funeral
is it?
music on your phone?
No, no. I'm looking at my music. Oh, one of my songs is by Adele, "When We Were Young."
Nice
So
song.
I
Mm-hmm.
have I have that song that I know. I have others, but that's
Mm-hmm.
like the first one that pops up. You?
I want a song from The Wiz. Not Ease On Down the
Home?
Road, but Home. I want that to close out my funeral. When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I,
Mm,
and the thing is, I am so much the drama queen that I want the pastor to say, "Let there be no weeping. Sophia is home." Cue the music and have that come
right.
on, and then that's it. But other songs, but home has to be in there because
Yeah.
I love that song. It means a lot to me. That was the first musical I saw that I was really excited about. Um, but yeah, I definitely want that. And
And
go ahead.
we're so ridiculous. And I think we get this because of our mother, because
Hmm.
she's been preparing for the last 30, 50
Yeah.
years,
Hmm.
right? So we know what mommy wants to wear. We know the music. We know everything. So it's like natural that we would have these thoughts and plan like these
Hmm.
details, because I was literally thinking the other day, I want my family to wear pink. I don't need other people to wear pink, but I
Hmm.
want my family to wear pink. It is like I love the color pink.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I know that pink is your color as well, and pink is your power color. And I'm thinking, and I love
Mm-hmm.
men in pink. So I'm like, I want my
Mm-hmm.
family in pink. So, yeah, yeah,
Remember how Daddy
yeah.
used to look so
Thank you,
nice in
mother.
pink? We used to put Daddy like in
Exactly.
a pink polo with his brown skin.
Pink polo shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and Boogie looked so
Love that.
handsome in pink. Yeah.
And Grayson, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have my family members wear pink to my service.
Uh-huh. That's nice. That's
That was a decision I legit just made like
uh-huh.
5 days ago.
I won't be there because I'll be long gone. But you know, I love that we
Are you
can
kidding?
laugh.
I'll have you propped up in the front seat.
I love how we can laugh about this because I think the thing about being Jamaican is there's none of this like, oh, we don't talk about that. Oh no,
No, it's not filtered.
the child can't go to the grandmother's funeral because it would be too sad. What the hell? This is life.
Too traumatizing.
The minute you are
Yeah.
born, the one certainty you're going to have is that you're going to die. They say death and taxes, but some people don't pay taxes. So that is one certainty we have. Now, Mommy has done a lot of shopping for funeral clothes, burial clothes, and then
for other people.
For other people.
people.
And
yes.
For years, Mommy, we had a picture of Mommy, and she said, "When my daddy may want you put this in the funeral program." But then she had her 80th birthday, and she has a lovely picture, and now that has supplanted the old picture. But yeah, and for me, I don't need 2 funerals here in Jamaica. You can just, but it's very important to get your affairs in order. There's nothing more, it's just disquieting to not have a sense of peace around this, with people coming forward, people expecting money and things like that. Oh, I did this, I did that. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's I think what it does for when you're still living, it just puts your heart and your mind at ease when you know that plans are in place.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it anymore. Your family members won't have to worry about it. It's pretty like step by step. I know you're grieving, but let me just make this easy for you. Do this, and this, and I'm good.
Right.
And I think it makes the whole process just go a little bit smoother. And you're right, we were never hidden away when death occurred. We were fully in it. I'm thinking back to Mama's funeral when
now
my brother
Mama was our father's aunt, but they weren't.
Yes.
She wasn't like 30 years older. She might have been 15 to 20 years older than Daddy. So they were kind of close in age. But when she died, the funeral was in Jamaica. And then go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, so the funeral was in Jamaica, and our eldest brother, I told Mommy, I'm like, I'm going. And our eldest brother, Rupi, went with me and my husband, Rick. So this is up country. And Candy and I, I'm sure we've talked about it, like to get to my father's old home, you have to hike in, a half a mile before you get there. And it's like this path in this field, just like a small little path that you have to walk down to get to the home. And like Candy said, our ancestral homes have these burial plots of our family members going back generations and generations.
I think
so. Mama was going to be buried.
The oldest one is Mum, and I think she was born in 1886.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
So so um so we knew that this is where Mama was going to be buried, and it's a hot Jamaica day, and I I'm at the house, but the hearse comes with the casket at the side of the road, and they have to carry this casket through this field, through
Hike
the
it in.
bush, to
Yeah.
hike it in to get there. And I think this is the first time I'm bringing my white husband up country to this home. And
Can I just say something?
the
Let me
town kind of comes out. Yeah, go ahead.
You say field, but field implies an open space. To hike
Oh,
up,
okay, sorry.
it's a path where on both sides it's
Right.
dirt. And then growing out of the dirt
Yes.
are weeds and grasses, but it's just a beaten path. It's not an open field.
Yeah.
So picture that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. So now all of the men, Rupi included, Rick included, and whomever from the general area
Did Uncle
show up
Alvin
to
go? Did
get this
Uncle Alvin?
casket.
Uncle Alvin, was he there? Daddy's brother? I don't think so.
I
Was
Yeah,
he
I
there?
think I don't think
Okay,
so.
all right.
I just remember Jenny and Biggie.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to get the casket and hike it in, and Rick is there and wanting to help, but people don't know Rick, and they're like, who's this white guy, trying to carry the casket? And the some people are arguing, like, not really arguing, but like questioning who he is, what he's doing. And the men who are carrying the casket are like, let him help carry the casket.
I can't even imagine.
Because, like, right, because you're just talking over there as a spectator, but we're actually doing it. Let him help. So he's carrying the casket along with all of these other men through the bush to the home. And I mean, just the whole funeral in Jamaica, that's a story in and of itself. But again, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't like, oh, so peaceful.
So
It
lovely.
was like very real, very, very raw. Casket, it's now open in the front yard. And that's what we've always known. And that's what we did for our father when we took him back to Jamaica for burial. And Jamaicans need to see their person before they go into the ground. We know this. And so I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh, we don't do viewings. That's just too much. We don't do viewings. We do viewings. I think that's just part of our process.
Yeah.
So, Candy, segueing back to Mummy for a second, because for the longest time, Mummy wanted to be buried in sleepy clothes, but she has changed.
Yeah.
So, what do you know what her funeral attire is now?
She has told me that the maroon outfit she wore to her 80th birthday party would be suitable.
Yeah.
Now, this would be, of course, matching Daddy, because we buried Daddy in a tuxedo. And to us,
yes,
there was nothing more fitting than putting Daddy in a tuxedo. Because Daddy was a man who liked to dress. Daddy was a physician, but he wore cufflinks with his custom-made shirts to see his patients.
Yes.
So Daddy in a tuxedo was perfect. And then we put his pen. Daddy had those 4-color pens that he used to chart with.
Yes.
A different color meant a different thing. And we put that in his pocket. We put chapstick in his pocket because he always had chapstick. And then we put him in his slippers, those brown slippers. I never knew where Daddy got those slippers. And we put the family picture that we took 2 years before in his casket
Yeah.
with him.
Oh, I didn't remember all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mommy can't show up to a party in a nightgown. She has to
Yeah, no
be
more.
matching daddy. And then the thing is, um, with daddy wasn't buried at his ancestral home. He was buried at St. Anne's Bay. But we bought a plot next to daddy for mommy. And then in the same plot is close friend, I call my godmother, Nurse Sylvia Warren. And then isn't Uncle Kermit there also?
Oh yes,
Uncle
yes,
Kermit. So
yeah.
these
So
are
there are friends there. There are a
these
lot
are
of friends under
in this
in that cemetery.
in the same cemetery. And the thing about that cemetery in Jamaica is, first of all, when you look out, you see the ocean. You see a poinciana tree, which is like a beautiful tree
I
with
was
red flowers and
just hanging, draping
yeah,
over.
and
Yeah, I
it's
see it right now.
beautiful. But the thing is, like every place else in Jamaica, if the path isn't walked, if people don't bush it out, the jungle takes over. So now when we go to see daddy, the cemetery is closed because there's no more plots. So now when you go to see daddy, you're literally walking through the bush and we're like, I think it's here.
Yeah,
And then there's a little gate around it and the gate is rusted.
yeah.
And
It's so appropriate.
that's what there's something so beautiful about having daddy in a cemetery where if you didn't know, you would just think it was a field because it's just so bushy and overgrown. And maybe there's some goats eating stuff, but it's
Yeah,
so like, and when daddy died, there's a cemetery in Jamaica called Dovecot where my godfather is buried, and people thought we were going to bury daddy in Dovecot, which was not daddy. Daddy was very proud of his very country roots, the rustic nature
yeah,
of how he was raised. And I think it's extremely appropriate that daddy is now in the bush, surrounded by all this nature. It's not truly country where he grew up, but it's still country enough. So when mommy dies,
yeah.
we'll have to pay somebody to bush it out
To push it out
so
because
that
you can't even
we
walk
can,
through it.
so we'll have to pay for that. But let's talk a little bit about a Jamaican funeral. Jamaican funerals, it's not a funeral in Jamaica until somebody faints. Somebody has to faint at the graveside. And that person, did you
Hold on,
faint?
I think that was that. I didn't faint for Daddy, but I was like, I'm gonna
You were
go
going
down.
down.
I gotta get out of here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Because
and Rupi took me and put me in the back of the car.
yeah, daddy died in July. And then that's the thing is, daddy died July 12th, but the funeral wasn't until like 2.5 weeks later because you have to arrange to ship the body. You have to arrange for people from abroad, from foreign to come back. And you can't buy a next day ticket to Jamaica. So you give them a couple of weeks. So, first of all, daddy, we stayed at a rental house in Jamaica. And then when we get to the church, it was the church we grew up going to in Jamaica. Oh my God, the church is packed. We left in 73, daddy died in 89. And the church was packed. And people chartered a bus from the country where daddy grew up to bring relatives to the funeral. Daddy's aunt, Mama, heard about daddy's.
People were outside. People were outside, and there were loudspeakers because the church was so packed.
Daddy's aunt, Mama, heard about.
And hold on. Let me just note that this was the second service because we had a memorial service for him here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So Daddy's aunt, Mama, heard about her nephew dying on the radio. Because when you live abroad and you want people in Jamaica to know, it's a radio announcement, and people listen to the radio religiously to hear, and that's how poor Mama heard. Rupert Grant from St. Catherine, Jamaica, now of Beverly Hills, blah, blah, blah. And that's how that old lady heard. So then people chartered a bus to bring folks to Daddy's funeral. And there was a girl wearing a dress that Mommy had shipped down to Jamaica, a dress of mine, wearing to Daddy's funeral. And so we go in, and we're walking up, and I think a Rupi drove, and we were in, somebody lent us an old Mercedes. I don't know whose car it was.
Yeah.
But Rupi drove.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then we walk in, and then I remember seeing our cousin Gail and Aunt Tatty and Uncle Peter. And you're going through all of that, you're grieving, but I remember feeling so happy to see Gail there. And she says, hi, hi, hi. And you kind of didn't know they were coming. And then when we get to the funeral, we're there, and we're in the first row. And there's a man in the right corner singing off key. Imagine you're singing Amazing Grace. I won't, but it's everybody knows Amazing Grace. And he's singing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. And it was comic relief for us. It was just a source of look at that man. And the man probably didn't know Daddy, but it was his duty to come. And then, like we said, there were loudspeakers. It was jam-packed. And that was a great source of comfort for me, because Daddy was, he was a big deal. He was a big deal. And to see all these people come back.
In that community?
Yeah, come back, 16 years later, and to have the place packed was huge. And so after the funeral, we get in the car and we're driving, and there were some hitchhikers on the road. Do you remember this? They put out their thumbs to hitchhike.
Of course I do.
And then they realized it's a funeral.
Until they saw the hearse.
And they're like, oh, we're not going. So then we drive down to the grave site, and then I don't know who the pallbearers were, but I remember Daddy's younger brother was there, Alvin, and at the grave site seeing my father's brother singing, and he looked so frail and feeble. I remember feeling sorry for him because he looked disoriented and confused. And I can't even imagine the pain of having to bury your sibling. But I foolishly wore pumps. And this, cemetery has rocks. So, of course, the heels on my pumps were stripped. The leather was stripped. But, you're singing as, the casket's on top, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And it's not like you leave it on top and you walk away. It gets lowered. The concrete slabs are put on top. Concrete is mixed. It is, it's done when you step aside, when it's all done. And, there's the heat, the grief, the pressure, and somebody always has to faint. Somebody feels lightheaded. Somebody and this is true. This is true grief. There's none of this, I never got to see him. It is over and it is done. And then after the service, the graveside, we went back to the house, and it was a rented home, a huge house owned by Michigan fans, and it's called Go Blue. And it's 2 stories with a pool, great view. And that was where we had the, Americans would say repast. but I think we had two caterers for the event because it was so huge. And it was like a carnival because people from your past kept showing up. Like a woman who worked in the store that Mummy owned in Discovery Bay, Patsy. Candy is Patsy. Then this woman, this young lady who lived across the street from me, her name was Nikki Franklin. Candy, you don't remember me. I'm Nikki Franklin. And you're like, it's just like all of these people. The guy Mummy used to buy fish from, Cecil, was there. And we serve food, we have lots of liquor. And then Mummy got up and she had changed her clothes and she said something like, Rupert loved a good party. I want you to eat and drink and celebrate. And then Aunt Merle was beside me. And Aunt Merle said, what a way the woman bossy and strong. And that stuck with me. But there's, this is 30 something years ago. But there's something so beautiful about celebrating in an authentic, full way that there's the grief is right out there. There's nobody saying she's making a scene. She needs to be quiet. And this comes back to when my godfather, the late great Dr. Irving Keene, died, who was Daddy's close friend. And I went to the funeral. My father was bawling to the extent that when we came back, people had called Mummy to tell Mummy how much Daddy was crying. But this is how you celebrate a life, is you grieve fully. There's nothing sanitized about it. And I'm so glad we had that upbringing, that we're not afraid to die. I've never been afraid to die. I didn't want to die because my kids were young, but now that they're educated and on their own, I know that they won't be lost. They won't be lost without me. They'll grieve, they'll cry, but they're gonna be okay. And once they sell the house, and they might be happy I'm dead. I don't know. But it's it's there's something beautiful about it. I am not afraid to die. And I just I'm grateful for everything that we've experienced to go through this, to prepare us. Jamaicans prepare you from like the harsh realities. And after Hurricane Melissa hit, there's a horrific hurricane, but then there's somebody's playing music and people are dancing in the street. There's a joyfulness. And depending on what your faith is, I don't know what you think, but I know I'm not afraid. I know I'm going to have peace. So yeah, I'm just really glad we were raised that way. And maybe we had a death doula on here a couple seasons ago, but I'm glad that we have that exposure. But I think the main thing about this is don't put off the unpleasantness because it's unpleasant, because you don't want your kids reeling. I sit on the ethics committee at my hospital where ethical issues that come up. And one of the ethical issues that come up is somebody has suffered a devastating brain trauma. Say you get shot in your head and you're alive because you're on the ventilator. But if you get taken off the ventilator, you won't have spontaneous, you're going to be dead. And you have no circulation in your brain. That's what is brain death. And so you'll have people who are brain dead and a relative will come and say, I don't want to take her off. She might recover. I don't want. But if you have that stuff written down, nobody has to argue about that. Now, I pray you don't write down that you want to be kept alive forever, but that's when the ethics stuff comes in. But make your wishes known. Tell people, write it down, put it in a safe spot so people aren't trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. Well, when we talked about doing this episode, I thought we're going to talk about preparation. I did not know you were going to go down the daddy.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about death and not talk about daddy.
You were going to go down.
Because daddy's funeral, it was so great to see all those people there. And I can't stand when I hear, "Oh, I'm not going to the funeral. I don't like funerals." Get the hell over yourself. It's not for you. It's for the family. If you mean anything to that person, go to support your friend. I've been to several funerals for my friends' parents. And one time, Mommy told me, she says she's so proud of all of us, the four of us, because when a friend's parents die, we show up. Nobody has to ask us. And I think it's because death is not mysterious and overwhelming to the point that you have to hide away. I was on a trip one time and my friend's father died, and I cut my trip short to come home to be with her. And Mommy's like, "Candy, I'm so proud of you."
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would hope that my kids are like that too. They haven't had to, well, Boogie went to the funeral of his best friend who died by suicide. I think that was the first funeral he went to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have a myriad of thoughts here.
Well, share them. We got nothing
memories
but time.
of daddy's. Okay, so here's one memory of daddy's service. I decided that my father loved Shakespeare. And so right after he died, I said, I'm going to recite a sonnet at his service. So I was already locked in to do that. Okay, no problem. Service happens here in LA. Fine. I do my thing. We go to Jamaica. I'm ready to do my thing again. But then the pastor, when we get to the church, the pastor says to Candy and myself that he has a reading, one for each of us. So I'm like, all right. Candy had 12 words on a piece of paper, whatever Bible verse, right? Mm-hmm. Very, very brief. Mine was like pages.
Sermon on the Mount. I don't remember this.
And I remember like some of these words, I'm like, I don't even know what this means. I can't even pronounce this. I remember being up there struggling through this reading and like, what pastor is going to put that upon the grieving child?
A Jamaican pastor.
Some Jamaican pastor.
I don't recall
Was that Reverend Smelly?
I don't remember.
But yeah, so do you remember that though? Your reading was like this and mine was Forever in a Day?
Remember. I do not remember.
Yeah.
Because I love a mic. I would have worked through my grief to read that. Yeah.
So that was crazy memory. And afterwards, everybody was like, I can't believe you had to read all of that. I'm like, yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, I do want to mention how Mummy has prepared us, and this is kind of like a funny little thing about our mother, and it's super sweet. But from my entire life, I can remember she would tell us what she was leaving for us when she died.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, my armoire, or my this, or my that, or this necklace, or that ring. She always had it mapped out who would get what. And if you were like, if Candy and I, like, Mummy wanted a piece of jewelry, Candy and I were with her when she picked it up. Because of that, we would that would be then earmarked for us to have that piece of jewelry. So our mother did this with everything. So we know exactly who's getting what. And then when grandchildren came into the picture, then she started incorporating them into the mix. So we know what little thing in the home our mother has earmarked for ourselves and for the grandchildren. So that's kind of a sweet little thing that Mummy has done, is just to let us know, when I die, this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I do have a bone to pick with my mother,
mm-hmm.
because my chunky gold necklace is currently around the neck of my niece, because Mummy decided to give it to my niece. And I'm like, that's been mine
Forever.
For forever.
Like, I love that necklace. And when she decided to give it to you, I was kind of like, I love it, but I knew it was yours. And then comes Haley, and she's wearing it right now. And
Haley's got my necklace on.
And I don't know if it reverts back to you when Mummy dies. You
know what? It really should. It really should. Or it's mine and I loan it out to my niece.
You guys might have to fight. I don't know.
I think I need to, still hold ownership.
Yeah.
But Haley, I'll let you wear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll let you wear it. But please know that is my necklace around your neck, because my mother told me when I was 10.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So my girls ask me, can I have this when I die? Can I have this when you die? Like my bangles have been assigned. Various jewelry has been assigned. Judy and I don't have the jewelry the way Mummy does, but
right.
Many of those things have been assigned. So, you know what? Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this has not been off-putting, but this is a glimpse into how we were raised. And I think it has benefited us. And even though talking about Daddy made me a little teary-eyed, I'm glad that we did, because what a send-off he had.
Yeah, truly.
What a send-off Daddy had. And, Mummies won't be as big because so many of the people who were there are now gone.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, the older you get, the smaller your funeral is, because your friends have predeceased you. So, thank you for listening to us. You know what? For the first time ever, I want to put out a request. If you're listening to this and you are an expert in dementia care, if you are a pulmonologist and you can talk about sleep apnea, if you are a urologist and can talk about erectile dysfunction, those are 3 things we want to talk about on the podcast. And I'm looking for experts in that field. So thank you for listening to this episode of Two Soka. You can find us on Instagram, Two Sisters of a Certain Age. We are also on YouTube, Two Soka Podcast, and you can email us at twosokapodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.